Not the ballworms.
We didn't start yet.
Oh, I thought you were waiting for me to start.
No. Okay. Do you want to... 3, 2, 1, and pause, and then we can start.
Are we just doing unison?
We can do whatever feels right.
1, 2, 3. Not the ballworms.
Not the boreworms. Not the boreworms. Oh, not the boreworms.
I'm uncomfortable.
Not the boreworms.
I'm not sure if this doesn't mean anything to you, Corkies, but welcome to episode 50 of Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual. Episode 50. That's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah, that was very disturbing, what you just did there.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. It took 50 episodes of practice.
Oh,
You're
Jesus.
welcome, kids. You're welcome. Everyone's welcome. And if you don't know what that's from, that is from the good old cartoon or movie or whatever the fuck it was, Flash Gordon. That's where T.S. Madison got it from. So it's from T.S. Madison doing that one princess from Flash Gordon.
Not the ballworms.
Not the ballworms. Get into it. I know this is probably a couple weeks late, and it's probably the internet's probably moved past it by now. But hey, it's relevant today when we're recording.
Which reminds me of doing something while it's relevant. I want to do that TikTok. Have you seen it? Where it's like, da 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 da. Haven't you seen that? Like two friends. And like,
yes, that's Bye 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 by the Backstreet Boys. So you better put some respect on their fucking name.
No, it's not.
That dance fucking Deadpool and Wolverine keeps doing. It's da da, and then they do the leg thing.
No. The TikTok where like we face each other, and then it's something like this, and then like I would go forward and you would go back. And then you do it. I'll show it to you after we're done.
Yeah, that sounds gay.
We are gay. We're just not gay for each other.
I'm only gay on Tuesdays, okay? Tuesdays and full moon, so you gotta take it while it's hot.
Paul,
the
it
other
is a full moon.
375 days a year, I am a straight male. Get into that.
Lies, falsehoods, fallacies. Anyways, how was your week?
So my week... You know, sometimes when I'm lonely, I pretend I'm a pregnant woman who lives in a runaway women's shelter. How's your week?
I'm gonna have to go to therapy for that one.
No, don't worry, because what I do is I think about all the life choices that I made that got me to that women's shelter, and how I'm never gonna Steve again. Steve isn't abusive, okay? He's just a Protestant. Now, and I think of all the life
I taught you that word.
No, I knew what a Protestant was because of Steve. And why I had to run away from him with my child, and now I live in the women's runaway shelter.
Are you allowed to be making that joke?
What do you mean?
Like about a women's shelter?
I'm allowed to have my fantasy life.
Okay.
And I'm allowed to make that joke because it's not about domestic abuse. I'm running because he's Protestant. I'm not making it a domestic abuse joke.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I don't know how to follow that. In my fantasy, I live in a magical cooking show.
Okay, yes. And what happens in the cooking show? Are the boreworms in the cooking show? Do they slither up your leg and help you cook up a
Stop. No, I am terrified of anything that slithers.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. If it has too many legs or not enough legs, I do not like it.
Girl, I don't relate.
If it has less than 1 or more than 4 legs, I'm not okay with it.
See, when I was living in the spiritual community, I made peace with all God's creatures, except for Lindsay Lohan. We're still working on that one.
Weren't there at one point and you like told them they had to burn down the cabins?
Legally, I cannot confirm or deny the existence of but
we're not naming the community.
I've talked about the community.
Oh, have you named it?
Probably, and I'm probably going to in the future. But no, there is not legally.
Anymore.
Oh my god. I'm probably going to have to cut that now. Jesus Christ. I'm trying to keep up good relations with my good old spiritual past. And DJ's out here trying to out
Just
me.
beep it. Just beep it so they don't know what we're talking about.
Well, the beeping it would make it funny. I'm
Yeah.
going to beep it. That's
Just
going to
beep
be
it.
funny.
You need to teach me how to do the beep when I edit.
Yeah, I could teach you. But speaking of a good beep, Sabrina Carpenter, oh my god, she's...
Wait, before you say that, I know it was like weeks ago, but I just want to pat myself on the back again for the USS Forrestal episode where I added the explosion noise in the... Did it sound... I didn't re-listen to it. Did it sound shitty?
No, it was good.
The fact that I did that by myself without your help.
That was good. See, DJ's becoming a full-fledged editor. You know, he's getting up in the gig. He is becoming a full-fledged editor, and I'm so proud of him for that.
On top of me running the social media and the content distribution, the administrative side, and costuming.
Okay, sure. Okay.
No, I don't run costuming. I run costuming for myself, and that's why I look like this and Paul looks like that. I'm joking.
I'm calling the police. I am being outed on this episode. This is not going to be a good episode for anyone. DJ
I'm
is
sorry.
coming at my throat.
You made me... We are recording this right after Harry Houdini, and Paul did not like his wine, and he made me chug it off screen.
Oh my god, you're exposing my past too?
Yeah.
Like, you're not even exposing my past. A whole community is at stake here, guys.
You're beeping it out.
Gosh, we gotta get into Sabrina Carpenter and just,
Okay.
appreciate her. Girl, that...
Do your theme song for Paul's Pop Culture Corner.
I don't have a theme song.
Paul's Pop Culture Corner.
Paul's Pop Culture Corner. Okay, that'll be the new theme song.
Okay.
But I love Sabrina Carpenter's come up she's
know.
having. Oh my god. That song Bad Chem, she said, come on me. Camaraderie. That's not exactly how she says it in the song, but if you're on TikTok, you get the point.
Yes.
Oh my god, she is so iconic, so beautiful. Living for her. Living for Olivia Rodrigo and her new boyfriend. People are comparing her to Edward Cullen and Bella because when they're together, she looks like Bella and he looks like Edward Cullen.
I'm into that. I'm going to have to look this up.
You have to look it up. Love Olivia Rodrigo and her new boyfriend. I don't know anything about the new boyfriend, so if he's problematic, I'm sorry. Blake Lively's canceled. There's lots of...
Why is she canceled?
Because there's all these interviews coming out of her being mean to interviewers.
Oh.
Yeah.
But her husband's so nice.
Who's her husband again?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, no. She's getting canceled because she's mean to people. There's the one clip of her in an interview, right? And she was pregnant at the time, and the interviewer says, oh, congratulations on your bump. And then Blake Lively looks this woman dead in the eyes and goes, congratulations on your little bump. Like, bitch, you're obviously pregnant. She is not. Like, what? Is she supposed to not address that you're pregnant? Like, and it was a very known fact that she was pregnant because she's a celebrity and announced that she was pregnant. Like... That interview was crazy. If you get the chance,
that
watch
is
it.
awful. I'm not okay. I'm not just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not advocating for Blake Lively. But congratulations on your bump is kind of a weird way to say congratulations on the new baby.
Yeah, I will say the interviewer is not from this country. I think she was Norwegian or Scandinavian as well.
Oh, okay.
So it might have, maybe not a language thing even, but still, it's like, I don't know. Like, I get the point. Maybe she was trying to make, like, oh, like, don't comment on my body or something like that. But there might have been a better way to go about that.
I didn't know she was a bitch.
Insulting someone else's body. And there's just a bunch of clips of her coming out. So Blake Lively got canceled. Rest in peace, Blake Lively. It's been cute. I'm still going to watch your movie, It Ends With Us. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm so excited to see it.
XOXO Gossip Girl.
Exactly. XOXO Gossip Girl. As far as I'm aware, there isn't anything else well, actually, in YouTube drama. So if you know anything about YouTube, Frenemies podcast, right? they broke up, and so it was a traumatic breakup because Frenemies is Trisha Paytas, right? Trisha Paytas and Ethan Klein.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan is married to a girl named Ela, and Trisha, of course, is married to Moses. Now, Moses and Ela are brother and sister.
Oh, no.
And it's been a fucking mess. Messy, messy, messy. Ethan went on the podcast this week and said something along the lines of, he called Moses a crybaby, said he could suck his dick, tell him to go cry to his mom, things like that. And it's just not. People were getting hopeful that frenemies would get back together, which I am one of those people, but I don't think it's getting back together after that.
It's a shame because like crazy. It's a family thing.
Yeah, it is a family thing because Moses is like talking to his mom about it, and that's Ela's mom too, and it's crazy. And I know you don't know anything about Frenemies, but Frenemies was an amazing podcast, so it was really sad to see that. And that concludes this week's Pop Culture Corner. You're welcome.
So I guess that means it's time for the Hot Guy of the Month, where we are going to go to Heartstopper's Charlie Spring himself, Mr. Joe Locke, that little cutie patootie. So, what? It's not like I called him. It's not like when I called Glenn Powell a scrumptious little ice cream cone.
Yeah.
That was weird. Cutie patootie is a real thing.
Okay. Period. Go off, sis. Do what you gotta do.
So, Heartstopper was Joe Locke's breakthrough film role. It was also his debut mass media, like big media debut. Which isn't normal for a lot of actors. A lot of actors, they're like Ariana Grande. She got an agent who got her like into Nickelodeon before she ever did her solo career. Like that's the more normal thing now.
Yeah.
Or like you have those supporting roles and then eventually they put you in a lead role. He didn't have any of that. He did some theater first. And then he got on Heartstopper because he went to an open casting call.
Oh, really? You went to an open casting? That's hard to do.
Yeah, he had to compete with 10,000 other teens wanting to play the part.
Oh, and they saw his and said, that's the one.
That's
literally
so mean. He said that he heard about the audition really and he had read the comics, and I quote, "I just saw so much of myself in Charlie and so much of my what my school experience was like. I really wanted to be part of the project because I feel like there are not many shows out there that depict the positives of growing up as a queer person."
That's actually really sweet. I do apologize for that comment. That was really off color.
It was kind of like the really congratulations on your bump.
Yeah, no, I do love Joe Locke though, and that is really sweet. He really is. When he is playing that character, I don't think it's hard to like fully grasp like what that fully means to have that character for today's youth and just like be that person for so many young queer people.
And what really, really makes me happy is that, and like I feel so bad that Kid Connor was forced to come out as bisexual.
Yeah.
But it really does make my heart happy that you have Joe Locke, who's a gay man, playing a gay character, and Kid Connor, who is a bi man, playing a bi character. Because in the gay community, we, like, over the past 2 decades, we have gotten much more queer representation in media. However, most gay characters have been played by straight actors.
Yeah, that's very true.
And one thing, like I've talked about on the podcast, I'm writing a book and it is about 2 gay characters. And one thing that I'm always looking for is like, I hope that it's like a Red, White, and Royal Blue or Heartstopper one day. And I really do want like it to be as lifelike as possible and that gay actors play the gay characters.
Yeah, I'm here for that. No, we should stay true to things like that.
Yeah.
Except,
just like,
I mean, not in all instances. There are definitely some instances
no,
where it doesn't have to be completely true.
Yeah.
But
I do think there are. I am also an advocate of coming through theater, my theater experience, giving the best actor that role. After all, I was in a play where I played a woman, and I did not play it as a drag role. I played it as a woman. I just happened to be a man who played a female role.
There you go. Yes.
And I was actually, this is so nerdy. Please don't judge me. You're going to judge me. You all, please don't judge me. I was listening to the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack earlier. And I was thinking, oh my God, it would be so iconic. There are the two managers of the opera house. And I was like, it'd be so iconic if one of them was a woman. Like, it's so not period appropriate. But why the hell not? Because they're comedy characters. They're like the comic relief characters.
Yeah.
And I think it would just, like, there'd be so much more comedy if, like, there was a man and a woman. Because there's something about that, like, mixed gender interaction that could add so much more comedy. Especially if you have the woman be the more serious of the managers and the man be the more goofy one. Because that is how I feel real life is, but that's not how media always portrays it.
Right.
And so there's something intrinsically funny about, like, seeing the man be the goofball.
Yeah, like The Office. The
Yeah.
manager, he's a man, he's a goofball.
Exactly.
He's the crazy one. And Pam keeps things together.
Exactly.
In The Office.
Pam has to be my favorite character on that show.
Really? That's interesting.
I think so.
I don't know who my favorite character would be.
I love her relationship with Michael, the Steve Carell, the boss.
Yeah.
When she has that art show and he's the only one who shows up.
That was precious.
And he's like, I want to buy the painting of The Office, and she just gives him that hug and she's crying. Like, I'm about to tear up and I'm just talking about it.
It was very precious moments, department.com. Now.
That's it. On Hot Guy of the Month.
Well, thank you so much, Joe Locke, for breaking barriers with your role as, I forget his name, Charlie
Spring.
Spring.
Hang on, let me see if I can open up a calendar now.
Breaking down barriers. You're an icon, you're a legend, and you are the moment. And we love you on this podcast.
Hang on, let me look at a calendar of September. I think because we missed the first...
So we're on the 3rd, so we have 2 more.
We're on the 15th. Okay, yes. Okay, perfect. I was going to say, if we missed a weekend, I would do 2 facts next week, but we still have 2 weeks.
Still have 2 more weeks of you, Joe. And don't worry, we're going to continue to harass you on TikTok. It doesn't end. All right.
Okay. Let's do this.
All right, let's get into today's wine. I'm wearing rings so I can give you extra ASMR. Okay, so today's wine is called The Dreaming Tree. Okay, it's a Chardonnay, and it's sustainably grown. Okay. An exciting collaboration between Dave Matthews and winemaker.
Wait, Dave Matthews, like the band?
I think so.
Wait, didn't we have another wine that was, what was it? What band was it?
Girl, I don't remember. We'll have to...
We're going to have to go, but fact check us below.
Yeah, fact check us in the comments. And so, the winemaker Grayson Stort. The Dreaming Tree offers sustainability-sourced wines that capture the spirit of California's wine country. Our Chardonnay embodies the classic California style with rich flowers of apple, lemon, and a touch of toasted almond.
Ooh.
Enjoy out on the patio, by the fire, or any time at all. And there's a little poem by Dave Matthews entitled Long Shadow Sheep. Sheep cast a significantly long shadow when viewed from a balloon early in the morning. I noticed this from a balloon far too early with no coffee. I'm sure that's funny, but I don't really get it.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, that was a good one, Dave Matthews. Stick to music, girl. Stick to music. Stick to what you're good
Can
at.
I see that bottle?
Now, wait, what are you looking at?
I just want to see, like, if it says anything about, like, is this Dave Matthews Band?
We'll have to look that up. We'll have to see. Okay, and the top of this says start. Okay, so let me give it a good old twist. Okay, she
that
gave
was
us
better
a
than
twist.
Houdini.
Okay, let's give it the good old ASMR pour. Okay, I'll take this one because there's not as much in that one.
No, this is my cup and you have COVID.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't actively have COVID. We're past the 5 days, okay? We're not breaking COVID rules where you cannot cancel us. It's past the 5 days.
Yes, Paul took a test and he tested negative before I came over here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wait, is this mine?
Yeah, that's yours.
Oh my god! I meant to pour more. Oh, Jesus.
I should have just left it in case you didn't like this one like you didn't like mine.
Right. Cheers! Jesus.
It's your taste buds.
That's strong, bitch. I don't know.
No, it's not.
Maybe it is the COVID
It's your taste buds. That's a really light Chardonnay.
You don't think it's dry at all? Maybe it's because I haven't drank in a while too because of COVID, but...
Chardonnay is like a medium dry white wine, but this isn't dry at all. It's almost like...
Did COVID ruin my taste
buds? It's like Pinot Grigio light.
Oh my gosh. Did COVID ruin my taste buds? Am I fucked?
Well, what's your backup?
Diet Coke. Because I'm a godly child of God with
2 weeks
Coke.
in a row.
I give that 2 grapes. What do you give it?
I give it... I'm going to give it 4 and 4.75.
4 points. Okay, period. Hopefully my taste buds, yeah. Hopefully my taste buds are back to normal by the next time we record so I can, enjoy wine and have a valid opinion.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Can you taste other things?
Yeah, like my Diet Coke and, everything tastes normal. I don't know. Maybe it's... I don't know. Or maybe it is the wine. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think this is dry at all.
That's crazy.
I mean, definitely the contra from last week was a little dry, and especially with that tobacco and tea. But, this is really light for a Chardonnay.
Yeah, and I thought I was getting better with drier wines, too.
It's almost Pinot Grigio light. Okay.
All right.
Onwards and upwards.
DJ.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story.
Yay.
So, our national parks are one of our nation's greatest treasures. They hold some of the most beautiful, serene landscapes on Earth. Every year, millions of people visit these parks to relax in nature and enjoy and explore the wilderness. But all too often, these experiences are anything but relaxing. While our national parks have some of the most beautiful places in the United States, they also have some of the most dark, dangerous, and mysterious places where unexplained things happen. Today, we will discuss some of the people who have experienced the dark side of our national parks and the unexplained experiences that will haunt them for the rest of their lives.
Ooh.
That's right, kids. This is our first rendition of Disappearances, but unexplained disappearances in our nation's national parks. And I say our first rendition because I quickly realized there are so many stories of unexplained...
So it's almost like how Gettysburg is going to be... Our last Gettysburg episode is part 1 of question mark.
Exactly, because there are so many stories, and they're not just quick, short little stories. They're in-depth stories. So every so often, we'll just do an episode of more national park unexplained
maybe
things.
once a year.
Yeah.
Nice little touch-in.
Exactly. So this is going to be the first installment of our series of unexplained disappearances in our national parks. And don't worry, this episode, I'm going to ease y'all into it because this episode is a little happier, okay?
Oh, good. Good.
It's a little happier. Just a little bit, though. Just a little bit. So just to give y'all little facts to start out with, okay? So there are over 431 national park sites in the U.S., but only 63 have the term national park in the name. So they are national parks, they just don't have national park in the name, you know what I'm saying? So...
Kind of on the way to and from your mother's house, there's Fort Necessity. which is part of the national park system, but it's not a national park.
Exactly. So these spanned more than 85 million acres of land in the United States and its territories. And this was quoted from the nationalparksystem.gov. Both those facts were. You go ahead and fact check me. We're done with the Wikipedia. So these parks contain land that is very remote, as you can imagine.
Yes.
It's very hard to access, and it's basically untouched by civilization. And like, it's really, people, I feel like, don't realize how huge the United States is and like how much of it is unexplored and like, well, maybe not
untouched.
Like, basically, yeah.
I have a really good analogy to describe just how big it is.
Go for it.
So, friend from Europe was coming in, and I asked them, like, what do you want to do while you're here? And they're coming into Pittsburgh. And he said, well, I think I want to do New York, and then we can do DC, and then I want to see Disney World, and then we can go to Los Angeles, and I want to see Denver and Chicago. And I was like, are you staying here for more than a week? And he was like, no.
Girl, that's like
a month. But in Europe, it's nothing to say, oh, I'm going to fly into London and see Paris, Madrid, Vienna, Berlin, and Rome all in the span of a week. Because it's so much small, like the entire continent of Europe is so much more than just the continental United States.
Right. But the United States is huge,
yes,
as you just described, and like a lot of that is wilderness. Like we're not all just big cities.
Also, I think like the distance between like New York and Los Angeles is nearly the same distance between New York and London.
I don't doubt that, honestly.
And the only difference is one is over land and one's over sea.
Exactly. It's so huge, and there's just so much area. Like, even where we are in, like, the Appalachian Mountains, there's, like, an unexplored area that isn't even national park land.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, like, there's a lot of fucking land.
Yeah, the communities up in the mountains where they're still speaking Elizabethan English because they just haven't been touched.
Exactly. So it's really not hard to imagine that over 1,000 people have gone missing in the past 100 years in these
Just 1,000?
That's what it was quoted on the site, yeah. And so a surprising number of these are unexplained, right? People don't know how these people, like, disappeared. Like, there are so many stories of just, like, 1 second you're with someone and you turn around and they're gone. Like, it's crazy how many stories of this, like, that happen, or just, like, other unexplained things happening to people. And I'm going to get into 2 of those stories today.
Oh, okay.
So, our first story happened on June 16th, 1946.
Oh.
So, 5 members of the Van Arst family arrived at Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas.
Oh.
Devil's Den.
Yeah.
Sounds spooky, right?
It does.
Ominous to start out with. So, they went and they unpacked at their cabin, and then the father took the 2 kids. There were 2 sons whose names don't matter, and a daughter named Catherine. And they took them to go swim.
Did your ring just fall right off your finger?
Yes. The rings are a little bit too big for my finger. Don't tell no one, okay?
Oh my god.
So the father takes the 2 sons and the daughter to swim. And I have to show you a picture of how this looks, because basically what they did is they dammed the stream, right?
I can like make it.
And wait.
Presenter view.
For why?
Because then you can get it all full screen, but still manipulate.
So basically, and I'll put this on the screen for the folks at home. If you're driving, pull over and, well, don't pull over. Take your hand off the wheel. Close your eyes and pull up your Instagram. But you can see they dammed the stream, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a top part and the bottom part, right? And so they would swim like at this top part, right?
Okay.
That was the most popular part to swim.
Okay.
And as you get closer to the ledge, it gets deeper, right?
Okay.
So only the stronger swimmers would go closer to the ledge of where the dam was. Yeah, because it's deeper there. So
and I'm sure the current's a little stronger there because it's going to go over the top.
Exactly. Now, of course, Catherine's not a very strong swimmer.
Of course not.
Right.
I knew when you said the sons' names didn't matter, but Catherine's did.
Yes. So the kids all get in, and they're swimming around and stuff, and little Catherine starts to float away.
Well, how old is Catherine?
She is 8.
Oh.
Yep, Catherine's 8 years old.
Okay. I thought, like, for some reason, I thought, like, this was a dad with adult children.
No, they're, like, kids. So, Catherine starts drifting away from her brothers, and she makes her way into the deep end, and she starts struggling, right? And the dad doesn't notice, and neither do the kid. Like, her brothers don't notice either. So she's struggling. But luckily, there's a nearby lady who notices, and she goes along the ledge there, and she pulls little Catherine out, and she, like, gets her out of the water so she doesn't fucking drown. And she's, like, scolding Catherine, and she's like, if you're not a very strong swimmer, you can't be doing all that, and blah, blah, blah. And this, of course, catches the father's eye, and he's like, who's this lady talking to my good old daughter, right? What's going on here? So the father starts waving on over to this lady, and he's like, hey, what's going on here? Why are you talking to good old Catherine? What's going on?
Why didn't he go over?
Oh, he did.
Okay.
So he's like waving as he's going over.
And running over.
And then, of course, the woman, she's a parent too, so she realizes how weird that probably will look. So she goes over to the father and like tells the father what happened. Like, she was in the deep end, she was struggling, so I pulled her out, blah, blah, blah. Things are cool. The father's cool, and the father tells Catherine, like, hey, you can't be in the deep like that. That's not cool. So Catherine, at this point, she's a little embarrassed. So she goes and plays on the rocks. So you remember in that picture how, like, there's the rocks there? So the kids would play on the rocks, like, in between, like, the two sections of water.
Yeah, of course.
So she's going to play on the rocks. And when she's doing that, she is, like, separate from her brothers. So to keep an eye on them, the dad has to look in 2 separate directions.
Okay.
So he can't keep an eye on the brothers and Catherine at the same time. So he's, like, splitting his time. Like, he'll look there, and then he'll look there. You know what I'm saying? He'll look side to side.
Okay.
So he's watching them looking side to side. And then, so he looks at Catherine, looks away, looks at the brothers for a bit, and turns around. Catherine's gone.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So he looks and Catherine's gone. So he walks over and he's like looking all around. He's like, where's Catherine? He walks up to the lady who helped Catherine. He's like, have you seen my daughter? And she's like, no, I haven't seen her in a minute. And she calls out to her brothers like, have you guys seen Catherine? And they're like, no. And at this point, he starts freaking out, obviously. Like, he's like, okay, where's Catherine? And he's like enlisting all these people to help. They're looking all over. People are diving in the water to make sure, see if she
didn't drown.
Exactly. So they're looking all around, like, and after an hour goes by and they haven't found Catherine, they enlist the help of the police, right? And the police search the thick forest around. They start searching the forest. And the police search actually goes on for 2 days in the forest around this Devil's Den.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Okay.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And, like, so at the end of this 2 days, the police think it's more likely that Catherine had drowned. So since it's a dam, they're able to actually drain the water to see, like, if her body was at the bottom of this lake. Well, not lake, but dammed stream. So they drain the water, and Catherine's body isn't at the bottom.
Okay.
So Catherine's not there.
But what about the other side of the dam, like where the stream continues?
Yeah, they drained both sides.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not sure exactly how that worked, but they did drain it.
They're able to do it.
Yeah, and even then, like, you could see, like, even if they didn't drain the other side, the water on the other side wasn't that deep. So, like, they could easily probably just, like, walk in. You're like, I'm sure they have trained divers.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had that. But they did drain the dam, and they still haven't found Catherine's body. So, of course, everyone's, like, freaking the fuck out, right? So, after this, they go back to searching the forest. So, they're searching the forest. They're going even deeper in the forest. Then, on June 22nd, 6 whole days after she went missing, a group of searchers that was located 7 miles into the forest. They're walking up this hill, right? And as they're walking up this hill, there's a cave. And they're calling Catherine's name while they're, like, walking up this hill. And they're calling Catherine's name, and then all of a sudden, this little girl wearing just a bathing suit walks out. And she goes, and I quote, "Here I am," just as casual as can be. She just walks out of the cave in her bathing suit. Just says, "Here I am."
2 days later?
6 days.
6?
Yes. This was 6 days later on June 22nd that they found her. Just stumbling out of this cave. And one interesting thing to note... Yeah, I'll say this now. One interesting thing to note is they had searched this area 2 days... not 2 days. 2 times prior to her coming out of this cave. So, a little interesting thing to keep in the back of your mind, okay? So, she was reunited with her family after this, and it is noted that she only had a few bug bites and some scratches on her arm, but other than that, she seemed perfectly calm. And upon doctor's evaluation, she had only lost a couple pounds, and she wasn't even, dehydrated, okay? So she had somehow also, stayed hydrated over this course of time as well. So not only was she hydrated, but she had to at least been fed a little bit to only lose a couple pounds. So something's a little off here. Something's going a little strange already, okay? So another thing to note was that, she was 7 miles from where she was lost, right? But that's what they call crow's eye view. That would be a straight shot.
Right.
This is forest. So when you're in forest and you travel, you have to zigzag and go around things. And
ups and downs.
Exactly. So it is estimated that she actually probably had to travel more like 30 miles to get there, to that spot where she was found. Now, I know what you're thinking, 7 to 30 miles, that's a big jump. I thought it was a big jump too.
No, not in Pittsburgh.
What?
Because in Pittsburgh we have so many hills and valleys that you have to go around.
Yeah.
That it's as the crow flies, you and I are probably only 5 miles apart, as the crow flies.
Yeah.
But I have to drive between 5 or 10 and 12 to get here.
Right. Well, I didn't believe that at first. I didn't believe the 30-mile thing at first. So I did check multiple websites, and all of them do say that 30-mile thing. Yeah. I thought that was crazy. So when they say something about miles,
I've heard that about
that's a
Appalachia.
straight shot. What did you hear?
Kids getting picked up and showing up 50 miles.
Yeah. It's actually, I was going to talk about this later, but there's tons of reports like that, and there's a book that collects a lot of these reports that these 2 stories actually came from. These 2 stories are in the books. Missing 411, which is also yeah. So, and it's also a documentary on Netflix, not Netflix, sorry, Hulu, Missing 411. It's a really interesting documentary, and it's where basically what's his name, David Paulides. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong.
I've heard of it before. Yeah, it's on my to watch list.
He gathered all these stories of these missing people, and where in national parks and how they go missing, and it's unexplained, and this is just one of those stories. But yeah, I thought that 7-mile thing was crazy. Let me get back to where I was. Sorry. Okay.
Please stand by.
We're back. So when the police asked her what had happened to her, she said she didn't know. She didn't remember getting lost, and she only remembers sleeping on warm grass the first night, which is, the warm grass thing is kind of interesting to me, because if they're in forest...
Yeah, it gets cold at night.
Yeah, and there isn't too much grass in forests.
No.
It's more leaves and stuff, so the warm grass thing is interesting, unless it was some sort of grassy bush. I'm not really sure. And the other thing she remembers is that she ate berries to stay alive, which is also really interesting because there could have been poisonous berries there. So, how did
she know?
Right, how did she know the right berries to eat at just 8 years old? Because she could have very easily just ate poisonous berries, Also, so everything's really foggy, and so the first thing she remembers, like I said, the warm grass. She remembers eating berries, and then the next thing she remembers is waking up in the cave on day 6. So she just remembers waking up in the cave, she hears the people calling her name, walks out. Now, an interesting thing, we're going to talk more about theories later on in the episode, But maybe she did have like a berry that was like only mildly poisonous.
Yeah.
And like that's what clouded her memory and like caused her to pass out for a while and she like passed out in the cave. But there's a lot.
Or even if it just made her hallucinate and lose time.
Exactly. But still, there's still a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of things we're going to discuss. Well, actually, you know what? Another thing to note is the police searched. Oh, wait, I already said that. Moving forward. I'm so sorry, guys. This COVID brain is crazy. So, let's also note that she was in her bathing suit, right?
Right.
So she was barefoot walking this too.
Yeah.
So like an 8-year-old by themselves barefoot wandering through the forest.
30 miles.
Exactly. Like what is going on here? Like,
I don't think I could walk 30 miles in my most comfortable shoes.
Exactly. I mean, how many miles? That would be like 5 miles a day. That's a lot of mile. Like that for an 8-year-old too. Like that's crazy. Now, I'm going to let that ruminate in your brain for a while because we're going to talk about theories and our theories and everything at the end.
Okay.
And do you have any questions about this story before I move on to our next story?
No, but I'm perplexed. I'm spooked.
Are you really? Or are you just saying that?
No, I really am. Like, I'm confused. I'm a little scared. I kind of have to pee. I'm hungry.
Oh my. A little horny, you know? A little bop.
No, I'm not horny right now. I'm a little tired.
Oh, and
it's a little too hot to be horny in here.
Also, I'll put this on the screen before we move on. This is a picture of one of the newspaper clippings.
Can I read the...
yeah, you can read it.
For those audio listens. Long missing child found safe in woods greets dad. And it's a picture of her sipping juice from a mug.
Yep, that's little Catherine. And that's little Catherine and her dad. That's not a very good picture. That's
no, he looks like a troll.
She doesn't look too great either. They really did him dirty in this picture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did him dirty in this picture, but...
If you're not going to drink your wine, can you pass it to me?
Yeah, you can have it.
Thank you.
So, moving on to our next unexplained story. This one actually occurred in September of 2012 to 53-year-old Linda Ortega and her brother,
You know,
Eddie
2020
Huff.
was a really good year for me. I don't think it's going to be a good year for them.
This was 2012.
2012, sorry. 2020 was not a good year for me. 2012 was.
Oh, okay, period. Get into 2012, the year the world was supposed to end. But
yeah, but it didn't.
That was disappointing.
I think that was my the first year I was like fully out.
Oh, really?
No, it was the second year I was fully out, and I was like that was the year that I was like the gay kid.
The gay kid. Okay.
I became really popular that year.
I imagine you were probably the gay kid before you were the gay kid.
I mean, I was the kid who was in 5th grade. Everyone called me gay, and I was like, I'm not gay.
I mean, that happened to me too, but I was also like out before I was out because everyone was like, gay. Everyone knew. Anyway, back to Linda Ortega and her good old brother, Eddie Huff. And this one actually takes place in St. Joe, Arkansas, where they were visiting their good old sister.
I have a question. Do all of these stories take place in Arkansas? Is that the theme for today?
That is the theme for today. Okay. Arkansas stories.
I figured it out.
Get into it, kids. So, where their sister lived, where they were visiting, was actually about a mile away from Buffalo River National Park.
Okay.
So, on Saturday, September 22nd, Linda and Eddie would go into the national park in search of a new fishing hole Eddie had heard about. Now, there's another story that says Eddie was teaching her survival skills in the forest. Mm-hmm. But either way, they went to into the forest either to find that fishing hole, a new fishing spot for Eddie, or so he could teach Linda survival skills, which is kind of funny. But, so, they go into the woods, they start looking for the strip. Now, they do start out on the trail, right? But eventually start wandering off the trail to see...
You never wander off the trail.
And this is one of those stories where they really should not have wandered off the trail. So they start wandering off the trail and start looking for this fishing hole. I'm going to stick with the fishing hole story. And they're looking for the fishing hole, and they're like, okay, we can't find it. Let's start trying to find the trail again. So they're not worried. They start going back in the direction they came. They start trying to find find the trail to get out again. And they're walking and walking, and then it starts to get dark. And that's when they start to realize, like, oh, maybe we're a little lost, kitty girl.
Oh, Jesus.
So, after this point, after they start to get lost, on this, we only know a couple of facts, right? So, we know on the first night, they spent in the woods, they were together, okay? And the next day, all the next day, they were together too, trying to find their way out, wandering around the woods, trying to find the trail, trying to find their way out. Then the next day, so to keep on track of days, so Saturday night, they're stuck there. Sunday together, all day they're together. Sunday night, they're together. And then on Monday morning, Eddie just reemerges out of the forest and got in his car and drove back to his house like nothing was wrong. He just walks out.
Say that all one more time.
So they're lost for 2 days.
Right.
Saturday, Sunday. Saturday night.
They're together.
Yep, Sunday.
Saturday they're together. And then on Monday, Eddie just walks out.
He just walks out of the forest alone.
As if nothing happened.
Yep. He gets inside.
Murderer.
Exactly. So he gets home, he gets inside, and of course his family's like, where were you guys? Where's Linda? What's going on? All sorts of questions.
Yeah.
And Eddie's like, oh, everything's fine. I dropped Linda off at a relative's house. Like, it's all fine. We're all good.
Did he?
And I'm getting to that. So they keep questioning him. They're like, but where were you? And he's like avoiding the questions. He's like, oh, it's all fine. But they keep...
Murderer!
They keep questioning him, right? And eventually Eddie's like, wait, I don't actually know what happened. Hold up, maybe like everything's not fine. And of course they call this relative's house, and of course the relative, they're like, Linda's not here. I don't know where Linda is. And
how long did it take them to call the relatives?
It was that day. Like, it was probably like
I thought
2
you were
hours
saying
after.
2 days after he reemerged.
And of course, like, after they call the relatives and they're like, Linda's not here, what the fuck are you talking about? They involve the police, and the police, of course, start searching the woods. Like, my first thought would be murder, too. Like, he killed those people. Like, he's already caught in a lie. He's gone for 2 days. My first thought, too, is like, he killed that
Linda.
bitch. And so they call...
Justice for Linda.
Justice for Linda, honestly. So... they call in the police. The police are searching the forest and everything. And it's not until Thursday when searchers on ATVs about 2 miles from the entrance of the park find Linda alive.
What the fuck?
Right? And Eddie better thank his goddamn lucky stars they found that bitch alive, because you already know they would have clocked him for...
He just abandoned her?
Well, you have to listen to the rest of the story.
Okay.
But again, Eddie better be thanking his lucky stars they found that bitch alive, because if not, his ass probably would have been in jail for murder. You already know, because he's already got a questionable story right off the bat here. So, at first when they find Linda, she's confused, she doesn't know what's going on, and she's taken to the hospital. But after a couple days in the hospital and after a couple days of care, her memory starts flooding back. Now let me show you this picture real quick of when they found Linda. This is what Linda looks like when they found her.
Okay.
That's an actual picture from the police department. It's copyrighted by the company police department.
Okay, yeah.
So hopefully they don't copyright it.
She looks Appalachian.
Yeah, they very much do look very country. Now, so when her memories start flooding back, Linda starts to recount the story. So at first, everything matches Eddie's story at the beginning. They step off the trail, get lost, search for 2 days, and then Monday, when Eddie returns, that's when Linda's memory starts to get a little foggy, right? Linda says she remembers Monday morning waking up, and she feels like Eddie's in danger. For some reason, she doesn't know why. She thinks Eddie's hurt, he's in danger, so she starts running through the forest screaming for help. And I imagine that's when she got separated from Eddie, is when she starts running through the forest screaming for help, right? She's screaming, she's running through the forest. And eventually she runs into a group of what she thought was hikers. just people there. And she starts waving at these people, yelling them for help, right? She's like, hey, help me, like I need help.
They're not real hikers, are they?
And she gets about 320 feet from the people when they just turn and stare at her.
How human were they?
Well, they look human. And I'm not sure we fully know what they are, but this group of people just stare and look at her.
They were flesh pedestrians.
And eventually, they move behind the trees to try and hide from Linda, right? But at this point, Linda's desperate. She's been lost for so long. She needs help. So she starts going closer. And when she gets about, I'd say about like, let's just say she gets closer.
Mm-hmm.
They just poke their head out of the trees and then poke back behind the trees.
Oh my god. I don't know why that scared me. I'm really scared. Like, being lost in the woods really scares me.
Well, we're surrounded by a lot of woods, so maybe you should move to the desert or something then.
I live in a metropolis.
There's still a lot of woods around here.
Yeah, but I live in a metropolis, and if I'm in the woods, I'm in a car.
That's okay. I get it.
And I've seen Wrong Turn. I know how to avoid that.
Girl, Wrong Turn's just a family reunion for me.
Yeah, I know. I met your family now.
Bitch. Oh my
No, they were
gosh.
actually very delightful.
Yeah, my family's iconic. Love you guys. Okay, so they poke their heads out, and that really scares Linda.
Right.
So Linda starts backpedaling. She doesn't want to turn away from these people.
Right.
And as she gets further and further away, the people come back out of the woods.
No.
And they start staring at her again, right? And so, and she recounts that it's at this point her memory starts getting foggy again until she blacks out. And then the next thing she remembers is waking up in the woods in the middle of the night. So she wakes up in the pitch black forest. And it's the dead of night, but she's not alone. All through the night, she can hear feet circling her, just footsteps and the crunching of leaves all night circling her. And she knows that's probably the group of hikers or whatever it was that she saw, if they were people, whatever, just circling and circling her, crunching of the leaves all night long. And then her memory gets kind of foggy again. And it's foggy. And the only thing that stands out until she's found is one of the last mornings before she is found. She wakes up as the sun is rising, right?
Right.
And she wakes up and she feels like someone's watching her. She feels like she's being watched, but she doesn't see anyone at first. And then she turns to her right, and then she sees it. She sees a shadow figure just standing there.
Nope.
Now, it's not right next to her. It's a little bit of a distance in the woods.
Nope, it's probably peeking over a tree, which is scarier.
No, it's not behind a tree or anything. It's just, standing there.
Oh!
And she knows she can't make out any, features of this thing. It's just, a shadow figure. And then she turns a little bit and notices there's another one. And then she notices another one. And another one.
No, is that it?
And another one.
Fuck.
They're circling her. And then it's as if they notice that she notices they're there. And they turn and run off in the forest in different directions.
No.
And then
No.
that was the last notable thing she remembers before she was rescued. How does that make you feel, DJ?
Nauseous.
It's a scary story. Could you imagine being alone in the woods?
No, I don't want to imagine it.
Now, those are my two stories I have. So that leaves us plenty of time for theories. So let's get into some theories of what might happen. So we're going to start off very lighthearted, right?
Okay.
Now, this theory I contribute mainly to Catherine's story, right? If I can talk. See, my throat's a little iffy from the vid, you know?
Yeah, that's why your throat's a little iffy.
Oh my god, leave me alone. So, First theory is Bigfoot. So
Yes.
maybe Catherine got taken by Bigfoot and was under the care of Bigfoot for those couple days.
Yes, Albert Ostman.
Exactly. I was actually going to bring up Albert Ostman's story. Maybe Bigfoot had like snatched her up for a little bit and was like taking care of her. Maybe
He just looked at her and he said, "Look at this ugly, hairless baby."
I mean, they took Albert. Why not take this little girl?
Yeah, because they saw him and they said, "Look at this ugly, hairless baby."
Exactly. And you know,
I mean, it's kind of like when I see a hairless cat.
oh my god. You know, hairless cats are kind of ugly in a cute way.
Yes.
They're like ugly cute. I'm here for it.
Yesterday I had breakfast with two cousins, and the one tried to convince me to get a hairless cat.
Oh, I don't think you're ready for that.
No, I'm not. And here's the thing. I live with my grandparents. We all know. Bill and Rose, love you.
Yeah, that's strike one. Strike two would be that cat.
But here's the
You're
thing.
out, bitch.
But here's the thing. My grandmother's terrified of cats. Could you imagine if I got a hairless cat, how terrified she'd be? And you know that cat would love nothing more than sitting on her lap. And you know she'd just be like, get it off, get it off, get it off.
Those cats do look angry. They do. And also, what if, like, so Catherine doesn't remember much. What if the Bigfoot accidentally hit her head on something?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's why her, like,
what if
memory's
she
foggy.
ate something that
The Bigfoot gave her that made her
hallucinate?
Exactly.
Like Catherine, we said that with Catherine's story.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm with you.
So, that's all I got on the Bigfoot thing. So, maybe she was abducted by Bigfoot.
Can we just establish that I like to believe that Bigfoot is a friendly giant?
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
I don't think that they are out to get us. I think if you infringe on their territory like a bird, like if you get near a goose's nest, it will get angry, but they will not attack lest provoked. That is my own personal belief.
Period. And that's why you should be Miss America.
My perfect date is April 24th. It's not too hot and not too cold, so all you need is a light jacket.
Iconic pop culture moments in history.
As I don't make eye contact.
Yeah, so maybe Catherine climbed her way over, like, to the edge where the forest was, and Bigfoot just said, "Snatch!"
Look at the ugly hairless baby.
Another theory that I have is aliens.
Okay.
And that
I can also see that.
Yeah, I could see that for Catherine, and I could also kind of see it for Eddie and Linda as well.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they got taken.
The lapses in time, the foggy memory,
Exactly.
all symptoms of alien abduction.
Exactly. And maybe the memories that the aliens took away, maybe like some of what Linda's remembering, like she came up with in her own mind.
Yeah.
Maybe she saw a horror movie or something.
Or, a lot of people say, like, with alien abductions or alien visitations, it's either I've heard it two different ways, where it's like you see something that doesn't make sense and it freaks you out because it doesn't make sense. And I've heard that it's either that the alien has substituted in your memory something that shouldn't make you afraid, or that they manifested themselves in a figure that should not make you afraid. Like there's a podcast that I listened to before. It's called Monsters Among Us.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And one listener called in and he talked about he was terrified because as a child he remembers seeing a chimpanzee in a spacesuit walk into his room when he was a kid. And it terrified him. And because like this chimpanzee walked like a human, and it wore like human clothing, like a spacesuit. And it terrified him because chimpanzees don't do that.
That is spooky.
And so, like, the theory was either that an alien manifested it as a chimpanzee to try and not make him afraid, or it supplanted its memory of him, like, sort of hypnotized him to remember it as a chimpanzee in an effort to be less frightening.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that before, too.
Yeah.
They did that in the movie Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, I think. the newest one, where like they saw the aliens as owls instead of aliens outside their window. So I could very much see that as well. But
and that goes back to Kelly Hopkinsville, which is something that I'd like to cover in our new year.
We'll get there. That sounds like an interesting story.
Oh yeah, it is.
But yeah, I could very much see like aliens like abducting these people. I like that theory. Another theory I have for you guys is Fae, the fairies.
Yes.
So the Fae
don't walk in the fairy rings.
Exactly. I mean, that's their territory, and the Fae are known to. And
you know what else? With the memory lapses, you're not supposed. Like, if you go into fairy world, you're not supposed to eat anything over there.
Oh, I did hear that. Why can't you eat anything over there?
Because, like, it's kind of like the pomegranate scenes from Hades and Persephone. Like, once you eat something over there, you have to stay there. And so it could be that, like, they ate something over there, which, when they came back, distorted their memories.
Okay. Interesting. Now that you say that, I have one thing between the two cases. The both of them do note, Linda and Catherine both note how they both ate berries while they were disappeared. Okay. So Linda did talk a little bit about how she did eat berries to stay alive as well. We'll get a little more into that in a minute. But also, fairies are known to kidnap people and stuff, and they can put people into trances, right?
Eddie.
So, exactly. That can, like, account for, like, their altered states of mind, and, you know, maybe the dark shadows or whatever Linda thought she was seeing. Maybe that was the fairies disguising themselves or something, you know?
Or even the fairies could have replaced it, like sort of wiped themselves from her memory. So all she could remember were the dark shadows. Right.
Or like maybe like those dark shadows or some like her experience in that dark forest, maybe like in her past she saw a horror movie like that she doesn't remember, and her mind just like plucked that memory and put it in there, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but
you know, it's funny that you say that, because I want to bring this up, and it's ever since I was really little. So like I live with my grandparents now, and they live in the house that my mother was raised in. So I've been going to this house since I was born, literally. And I've always been terrified of the basement in the dark. And it's because I've seen, like, in the dark, I can see this face that's always terrified me. And I've always described it as a terrifying nun.
Oh.
And when the movie The Nun came out, that's the face.
That's
the face.
I don't like that.
But here's the thing. That came out, like, what, within the last 4 years?
Yeah.
So for 24 years before that, that's what I was terrified of in the basement.
That's scary. I don't like that. So maybe that nun that's haunting you was haunting whoever wrote that nun thing.
Well, that's like supposed to go with like the... And here's the thing, like my grandparents, they live in like a totally normal suburban community. They're they're the second people to live in the house. They bought it off the first couple who lived there. Nobody died in the house. There's no reports of a convent being over there. Like, it's wild.
So it's haunting you. Spooky.
My grandparents don't believe this. I tell them this all the time, that their house is very haunted because I can see things, and they don't believe me.
That's crazy.
Like, I told you about the shadow man in my living room when you stayed over that one night.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, we have a very uneasy detente between us.
They probably just think you have schizophrenia or something.
Yes, they do. They tell me all the time that I'm just imagining things. And I'm like, where am I coming up with this?
Oh my gosh. See, that's how older people like to explain shit away, though, because it makes them uncomfortable. They don't like to...
But also, like, I'm very open. And, like, my mother died. And, like, unfortunately, my grandparents have lost both of their children.
Yeah.
And my grandmother has said since my mother has died, like, oh, like, sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll see your mother's face in the ceiling, and I ask her, like, please tell me you're okay, and she never talks. And like when I was younger and I like could hear my mother more readily, like the first time my grandmother said that, like without, like I was doing something without looking up, I said, open your fucking ears, which is what my mother would say to my grandmother if she was there.
That's wild.
And it was like this moment of my mother communicating to her mother through me.
Oh, okay. I see.
Because it's like it was, and like finally, like after a couple years of like every time my grandmother would say this, I would say the same thing. Open your fucking ears. I finally said to her, "Don't you understand that she's trying to tell you you're not listening?" Which is the hallmark of my mother and my grandmother's relationship.
It sounds like a hallmark of your relationship with them as well.
No, my grandmother listens to me.
Oh, by force.
Literally, because I will sit there in the kitchen and talk to her, and I will be like, "Are you listening? Are you listening? Rose, are you listening to me?"
Oh my gosh.
And unfortunately, I listen to her because when she gets mad at my grandfather, she'll start to mumble. And it really says something that she will mumble something while sitting next to my grandfather, and my grandfather can't hear it. But I can hear it back in my bedroom on the other side of the house.
Well, they're old. They can't hear. But I have to get back into supernatural shit. So let's get into some more supernatural things that could be going on in these forests, okay? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is spirits.
Yes.
Let's talk about Linda's story real quick. Let's just talk about the shadow people, because we did kind of cover shadow people, like when I talked about the Hat Man. So maybe they're like spirits of the forest that like did this to them, and maybe that's why like Linda doesn't remember the spirits actually touching her, because like
shadow people are a big part of like their whole genre of apparition.
Exactly. So maybe it was like the shadow people of the forest messing with them.
I was going to bring that up. Like, could it be a spirit entity?
Yeah, I think it could be. Or maybe like even like a demonic entity. Like a demonic entity who haunts the forest. Like, now for Catherine's story, I don't think it was really a demon that took her. I don't think
I would believe far more in either aliens or Bigfoot. Like, Bigfoot is my number one for Catherine.
Yeah, I don't think that was more of a spiritual thing. I think when it comes to more spiritual, I think Linda and Eddie's story leans more towards the spiritual intervention, because like where they traveled and stuff, that seems a lot more believable. Little side note, Linda's flip-flops, why to God she wore flip-flops out there? I don't fucking know.
Wasn't she going to learn how to swim?
They were looking for either looking for a fishing hole, or he was going to teach her survival techniques. Survival techniques. But apparently her flip-flops did break on day 2 or 3. I forget which one. But God knows why she wore flip-flops to the country, because any good country person knows, like...
Well, I think that's also a testament to how country she is.
Oh, maybe she was so country she didn't need it. Well, obviously she made it like this.
Well, I mean, that is like a hallmark of their, like, some, like, really country people. It's like, all I wear is flip-flops.
Right. That's true. Like, even in winter, it's like white people in shorts.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. But...
the white men in
also,
gym shorts year round.
Her country, them being so like country and Appalachian and whatnot, does also like put a testament to be like, they should probably know these woods. I mean, their sister lives there. Like, if he's like looking for another fishing hole there, he's probably been in these woods before. So the fact that they got lost is kind of interesting, because these are country folk. So they probably should be able to find their way like in and out of the woods. So something
and it's very Blair Witch that they were going a certain direction, they turned around and they still got lost.
Exactly. So it very much does seem like something intervened, and I don't know why I would ever intervene to let Eddie go so quick, but maybe they just liked Linda.
He didn't taste good.
Maybe. Now there is a theory. Like, do you have anything you want to add to this, like demons, ghosts, spirits, before I move on? Now there is a theory that maybe they were taking drugs. Catherine, not so much, but there's a theory that Linda and Eddie were taking drugs and they were hallucinating doing this. Like, maybe they did mushrooms or something. Yeah. And I did look up how long a drug hallucination usually lasts. And the National Drug and Alcohol Research Center says some hallucinations can last days to weeks. Yeah. So it is plausible that, like, maybe they were hallucinating to this point, and Eddie's wore off before Linda's, and he ran out, and that like.
Or even the way that he walked out and he went home, And he was like, oh, I dropped Linda off at a relative's, and it took a couple hours for it to wear off. Exactly. It could have been that maybe he took a little less, and he sort of, in the drugstore, walked out. Or was starting to sober up, and he walked out, and he drove home, and he started to come out of it, and it just took a couple days before Linda did.
Right, and it's very easy to imagine, like, oh, I don't remember being like, oh, you just don't want to tell people you were doing drugs with your sister in the woods, like, because that stuff is still illegal, like.
Or it really could be like they were doing survival things. They could have like been like, oh, this is a good mushroom to eat when you're surviving, and they eat it, and it's actually something that creates hallucinations.
That could have been something too, yeah. So maybe they didn't even realize they were ingesting something.
Yeah, I mean, you do hear that all the time, like. There's this particular type of mushroom, and it's 2 types of mushrooms, and I believe it's like, yes, it's red with or white with red spots, good to eat, but red with white spots is poisonous.
Okay.
I believe that is. Don't take my word for it. I'm not an outdoorsy person, but they look so similar, and it's just that flipped coloring where it's so easy to pick the wrong one and eat it. It could have been like, oh, like, yeah, this is a good mushroom to eat if you're foraging. And you eat it, and you don't realize that it's actually one that creates hallucinations.
That's so true. That is so deep. And another thing to note is they were
both... the berries.
Yeah, exactly. They were both eating berries, so they could have easily just, like...
And that could go back to Catherine, too, with the berries.
Exactly. And they're both in Arkansas, so who's to say, like, the same berries aren't growing there, you know? Maybe Catherine wandered off in the woods for some reason, ate the berries, and got more lost.
Okay.
Maybe she found herself in those woods. Just kidding. Actually, I think it was... Did I ever say this? I think it was Linda who said that to this day she can't eat berries anymore. She can't stand to taste the berries after eating them in the woods like that. Yeah, that had to have been Catherine. No, sorry, that was Linda who said that. Yeah. That was definitely Linda who said that. But...
Next theory?
That is all my theories, actually.
Oh, you didn't talk about the flesh pedestrians?
Well, the flesh pedestrians is going to be a whole other episode.
Okay.
Unless, do you think it could have been the flesh pedestrians?
I'm not taking off the table.
Now, the flesh pedestrians and the Windy Boy are the same thing.
Yes.
If you don't know what that means, go ahead and Google it, because we're not saying it out loud.
It is a walker who wears a skin.
That is not its own.
But it is a walker that wears a skin.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're doing now.
To let those at home who don't want to Google it, because I think, like, you shouldn't talk about it, and we're screwed. We have a window open. And also, I think it's like you shouldn't Google it.
Google it. Maybe it was a Windy Boy. Maybe she got snatched by one of the Appalachian cryptids.
Yeah, and I mean, like... I know in normal circumstances they feed on your body.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. The whole hallmark of the story. But I mean, what if they just feed off your energy?
I mean, they could. I mean, they are spiritual beings too, so.
Yeah. I mean, they're both... Yeah, we're going to have to get into that. Like, going into the new year, we're going to have to do a whole thing on that.
It'll be a whole episode.
Oh, that was really good.
What do you think? What theory do you think?
I think they're all... I don't know. They're all really good. For Catherine, I love the...
Bigfoot?
Yeah, and I think for Linda and Eddie, I love the fairy story.
The fairy story, period. I think there's just so much we don't know about what happened. I really could see multiple theories of being, you know? I can't say it could be any, like, one theory, because I could really see it being, like... multiple of the theories, like...
Sort of like Catherine getting lured off by the fairies, and then a spirit sort of turning her around to get lost, and a Bigfoot rescuing her.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant, like, it could have been Bigfoot, or it could have been aliens. Oh, yes. It could have been, like, any...
Yes, there's no definitive, like, I really can't put... There's no one theory you like best.
Exactly. I could see it being multiple things. And I think that's what makes these stories so interesting. And this is, like I said, this is only 2 stories. There are so many other stories. And we're going to continue this. I'm sure DJ will want to cover some. I'll cover some in the future. I find these stories so interesting. And why I said this was a happier episode at the beginning is because like these people are actually found. There's a lot of stories where
they're not.
They're
There's
just
so
not
many.
found.
All right.
Now, DJ, one last question.
Okay, I'm ready.
Smash or pass the shadow people in the woods who
Pass.
are watching Linda sleep?
Big pass. Big pass.
Oh, I thought you'd like that because you're into that Edward Cullen stuff.
But that's not Edward Cullen. They don't sparkle. They're shadow beings, and I'm not into that.
Yeah, I'd say if it was in my room, maybe. But
And I like being watched.
Girl, we know that about you.
Girl, not the boarworm.
Not the boarworm.
Stop touching your pets while you do that.
Not the boarworms.
Not the boarworms.
You know, in the right like circumstance though, like maybe I could like smash the shadow people. Not in the middle of the woods, but like in the right circumstance.
Okay. Is that all she wrote?
That's all she wrote for me. Hope you enjoyed the story, guys. Stories.
Please let us know what theory you like best, or if you have another theory, you can text us wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcast, Spotify. If you're listening to us on YouTube, feel free to comment below. Or if you would like to text us, just go into Apple or Spotify or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Go into the description for this episode and text us. Remember, we can read all of your texts, we just can't answer back. Please remember to like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you are listening. Please also interact with us on social media. You can always DM us your thoughts or story suggestions. You can find us on Facebook or on Twitter at Crips and Corks, or on TikTok or Instagram at Crips and Corks Pod. If you have personal stories in addition to anything else, you can email them to us at cripsandcorks@gmail.com. As always, guys, please interact with us on any, but only share your stories with us on the email so we have them all in one spot. Paul, where can they find you?
Just real quick, I forgot to shout out the YouTube channel, Mr. Ballin. They helped me get a lot of my information for today's story, so shout out to that YouTube channel. Again, it's Mr. Ballin. If you want to find me, you can find me on my personal Instagram and TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And as usual, y'all, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And if you would like to follow me, you can follow me on TikTok and on Instagram at TheRealDeechPowers. And if you'd like to send me a love letter, please do so by sending me to the National Park Service's main office in Washington, D.C.
Period. Get into that.
Or Devil's Den in Arkansas.
Either one.
And remember, beware the woods and keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye.
Not the ballworms.
Not the bollworms.
Jesus H. Christ.